I am Laura Diehl, author, speaker, and bereaved parent. I'm coming to you from inside the Hope Mobile, which is our house on wheels, and I would like to answer this email. It says, "Hi, Laura. I think you said it best as suffocating darkness. There are so many emotions, including excruciating pain of missing your child so much. I'm wondering also if anyone has experienced anxiety and fear. It can be really frightening. I'm trying to pray so hard, but sometimes I just tune out with mindless TV, and that seems to numb the pain, but only works for so long. Thanks, Sherry." And the quick answer to this is yes. Yes, all of us seem to experience fear and anxiety. And it's something I don't think I've met a single bereaver who isn't dealing with fears they've never had before after the death of their child. Fear doesn't come from God, it comes from the enemy. And we have to figure out how to make a shift from fear to faith. Now, some of the things that fears that we have, you may be afraid that you're losing your mind, like you're going crazy, early Alzheimer's is setting in. I dealt with that. The fear that those around you will forget that your child ever lived. I think the younger that your child was when he or she died, the greater that fear is that you have to fight. The fear of feeling guilty for laughing or having fun without your child, because there's an internal conflict there about how can I be happy? I feel like I'm betraying my child if I'm happy when my child's died. And maybe we feel like they're no longer here to enjoy life. So how can I do that? Or the fact that, what are people going to think about me? The fear that if we're no longer in pain about their death, that we are going to start forgetting about them. This is a really common one. And we feel like it's our pain that connects us to our child, but it's really important to realize that's not what connects you, keeps you connected to your child. It's the love that you still have for your child is what keeps you connected. And I would really love for you to get to a point where it's not the pain of their death that makes you feel continued to be connected to your child, but it's the warmth and the memories and the joy of their life that they lived. So not their death and not staying in the pain of that keeps you connected, but the love that you still have for your child and the warmth and the joy and the blessing that you had of their life while they were here. Another fear is having moments that you don't consciously think about or miss your child. Being horrified at the fact that I actually went 2 or 3 hours and I didn't even think about my child. What kind of a horrible parent am I? And that's just not true. The way I see it is I have 5 children. Becca is my oldest, who is waiting for me in heaven. And the way I see it is I'm not constantly thinking about my children, individual children. I could go half a day without thinking of specifically one of my kids. I might even go an entire day without specifically thinking of one of my kids. Now they're all adults, they're not in my home, but I don't consider myself a horrible parent because my kids aren't in my thoughts every minute, every second of every day. So just because my child is in heaven instead of here, to me it doesn't change that if I'm not thinking about them. If I don't think about them for several hours at a time, it doesn't make me a horrible person or a horrible parent. Our kids are deep within our hearts, and so if they slip our minds once in a while, it's okay because they're still part of us. So just like not thinking about one of my children who's still here on earth doesn't make me a bad person or a bad parent, not thinking about my daughter who's in heaven doesn't make me a bad person or a bad parent. There's also the fear of losing another child. I know that's the one that I fight with the most. And once we lose a child, we know it can happen to us. And we know that, especially because of what I do, I meet so many parents who have lost more than one. If you're someone who's lost your only child or lost all of your children, I am so sorry. There is an organization called Alive Alone that you can look up, and they are there specifically specifically for that purpose, to walk with parents who have no children left here on this earth. The only solution I have to this one is to keep giving it to God over and over again, especially when that panic sits in. I'm trying to get a hold of one of my kids. I can't get a hold of them. And it's like I want to find out. It's like it just gets more and more intense, and the longer it takes for them to get back to me, it's like, well, I just have to find out how they're doing, right? Which is code for my mind is picturing them. It's laying in some hospital bed, and nobody's told me. Our mind just goes to the worst, doesn't it? But that is a fear that I fight, and I continue to pray about it. I continue giving it to God, and yes, I do continue praying for protection over my other children, but at the same time, I give Him permission to be Lord, and I just believe, I have to believe, or I would go crazy, that if another child would leave this earth, God's already there. God's already there in my future. He's already there at that very moment. And just like He has walked me through losing my oldest daughter, He will walk me through losing another child. There may be some solutions to dealing with our fears, but it doesn't mean that it's an easy fix. Although I will say, I do see it as very black and white. We either believe that God is good and Satan is evil, or we don't. We either fear that God isn't enough, or we have faith that He is more than enough. See, fear and faith, they come from the same root. It's the unknown. We don't know what's coming. We don't know the future. And so we can choose. We choose to either have faith in the unknown, or we choose to have fear in the unknown. And like I said at the beginning, fear brings torment. So it really doesn't do us any good to choose to have fear in the unknown future. When we have a God who is already in our future, we can have faith that somehow He's going to walk us through as we continue our journey here on this earth. I would love to have you write in the comments below this YouTube video, I choose faith. Or maybe I will try to choose faith, be honest. But I'd love to hear from you below in the comments that you're going to do what you can to make the choice of choosing faith and walking in faith instead of walking in fear. Here at GPS Hope, we provide support and resources for parents who have lost a child. And one of those things is a podcast, a weekly podcast. I did an entire series on a lot of these different fears and more than what I've mentioned in this video. You can find it. Just go to gpshope.org, go to the podcasts, and go back to the very beginning. I think it starts at like series 8, or just find the search bar at the bottom of the website and type in the word fear, and those podcasts will come up for you. They go into a lot of depth of the different fears that we face as a parent who's lost a child. I also, in one of my books, When Tragedy Strikes, I have a whole chapter that talks about fear. And so you might be interested in getting that. You can get it anywhere books are sold. And the last thing resource I want to tell you about right now is that there's actually a course. It's a self-study online course that is based on this book, and it takes you a lot deeper than the book can go. It's called Rebuilding Your Life After the Death of Your Child. And if you see me looking down at some notes, it's because I actually pulled some of the notes from one of the sessions that I did specifically about fear. And that session there are 3 courses, and that session is in one of the courses called Working Through the Darkness. Another one of the courses is called How Do I Even Start to Rebuild My Life? And the third one is called Looking Toward My Future. They're very reasonably priced because we don't want anyone to not be able to really dig in and get this help that's needed. We do have to cover our costs for this. And so right now, if you're watching this before New Year's of 2021, so we're at the very end of 2020, we're all waiting for that year to be over, right? We have these courses on sale. They're only $15. One of them is only $10. So be sure to go to gpshope.org/WTS course. That'll give you all the information, find out more about what's in these courses. You don't have to take them in order. Just pick the one that looks like that's where I am. That's where I need help right now. And I'd love to have you join me as one of our students. I'll also put the link for that below in the details of this video. I am Laura Diehl, a grieving parent sharing hope, and I will see you in the next video.